So if you want to dominate higher belts in BJJ, if you're a white belt and you want to beat the blue belts, if you're a blue belt and you want to be purple belts, I'm going to show you how. So I'm going to give you a broad spectrum of how to become more athletic on a mat in BJJ. Now, if you don't know me already, my name is Maclean. I am a BJJ black belt. I'm a former professional MMA fighter, and now I'm a strength and conditioning coach, helping people become slightly harder to kill. So the goal of this video is to maximize both areas of your sport and help you get a little bit of a balance, just a little bit of an overview to help you. So the first step is the trade-offs. Obviously, listen, you're not gonna be the best powerlifter in the world if you're also trying to get really good at BJJ. If you're doing both, one or the other will suffer from time to time. So you're gonna understand the trade-offs of each. So you've gotta get an idea of what's the most amount of training you can do in both areas and still recover, and where do you want to put the most amount of effort. If you overtrain in any sort of area, well, you do too much weights, or you do too many BJJ sessions that are intense, both areas will decrease in performance and you'll see a lack of progress, which is not what we fucking want. Trying to find the balance in both areas will be changed on the fly. It won't be just a one size fits all. You will have to adjust this and see what works best for you. So I'm going to give you some recommendations at the end of the video to help you do this without overtraining. You want to start with the bare minimum to get results, and then over time you can do a little bit more. Whereas if you go balls to the wall from the start, you're just going to blow your load. It's like, you know, shagging a bird. You go all out to start with, you're just gonna come dead quick. Just start it slow, young Padawan. So the first aspect is strength work, and we're talking about the compound lifts here. We're talking your bench, you're talking about your squat, your deadlift, your overhead press, and also some sort of pulling movement such as weighted pull-ups. These are the keys, and these are the things you want to increase the weight on week to week. Now, as far as increasing your weight week to week, that will stagnate. Okay, you have to have a proper program with this. For example, aim for 3 sets of 5 reps. Increase the weight each week until the weight stops going up. When it stops going up, you deload and then you take about 20% off and start again. That way you mitigate the fatigue and you build that weight up over time. This is about strength. It's not about going in the gym and hitting a 5 rep max every fucking week. That's how you overtrain. That's how you get injured. That is not strength work. There is some examples of programming I will go through in the coming videos and coming weeks. However, a great way to start is 3x5. You could do 5x5, but that may be too much volume for most beginners that are also doing BJJ. If you're just doing strength work, it's a great program to start on. So another aspect this is neglected is power work, being explosive. BJJ is a very explosive sport. People don't realize going for takedowns is explosive. Driving flat on the hook is explosive. Whether you're trying to get up from a takedown, a lot is explosive. Even sweeping someone is an explosive movement. You need to develop that power. So, for example, some exercises I love is broad jumps. I love med ball slams. I love clapping push-ups. These are things that can develop a lot of power. There is a load of stuff you can do with power work. These are some examples you can start on right away. Now, with power work, you do not want to do it to failure. So we want to keep this between 5 reps, possibly, quite low. Sometimes you can go a bit higher. You want to stop the reps when the power decreases. You want maximum power. And then, for example, if I'm doing broad jumps and I don't jump as far, then you stop dead. You need to do it until the power decreases. It is not about getting fatigued. You won't feel sore afterwards. You won't feel like you're doing fuck all. It'll just be like you have less power. That's when you stop. The next aspect is size. Now, you're not a fucking bodybuilder, but you do have areas that are more prone to get injured. That's your neck, your shoulders, lower back, knees, ankles, possibly your elbows as well. So around them muscle groups, we want to build some muscle. I'm not trying to turn you into Mr. Olympia here. I'm just trying to get you to have a bit of size so you don't get as injured. On top of that, you cannot build muscle just on bone. It is from having some sort of tissue there. The more tissue you have, the more potential for strength you have. So therefore, a little bit of muscle does you no harm, plus you look jacked and sexy, so it's always a benefit. Now, as with most bodybuilding programs, that is what they're based upon. It is between the 8 to 12 to 15 rep range. Sometimes you can go up as far as 20 reps or more. What you want to be aiming for is between 2 to 3 reps in reserve. You could go to failure if you're doing less sets and less volume. Our approach works fine with me. I would probably use a bit of both. Now, as far as size work goes, you can aim towards more isolation work. In particular, we're talking about isolating the shoulders, the biceps and triceps, because they are used a lot in grappling. You're talking a lot of things like leg extensions, in particular for around the knee. We talk about good quality VMO lunges. Also things like calves, your standard bodybuilding groups. I'm gonna give you a full program at the end, so do not worry. I'll talk you through how I would structure it personally. So the next aspect you need to consider is your cardiovascular endurance. But in particular, what I'm talking about is your lactic acid and alactic acid system. And this is your sort of short bursts of fast energy you're using straight off the bat, and sometimes a little bit more of that longer power work that goes over for a couple of minutes, okay? So you want to be able to explode and recover quickly, and that's what this pretty much is, okay? If you're competing in jiu-jitsu, you're going to be lasting if you're a black belt, it's a 10-minute match. If you're, a lower belt, 5 minutes, so 6 minutes of a grappling match. It's not a long time, so if you're going for an hour run, it's not really applicable to what you're doing, okay? Now, the modalities I like for using this is in particular the rowing machine, the ski erg, and the assault bike. 3 pieces of equipment that will absolutely transform your fitness if you know how to use them properly. And at the end, like I say, I'm going to talk you through how we're going to do that. So the next aspect we need to dive into is your daily and weekly structure to your training. How the fuck do you fit this all in? It is hard, and you're probably a little bit confused of how to structure it. So there's a couple of things I would recommend in regards to this. So for example, if you are training your BJJ at night, which most people do, I would lift and do strength and conditioning in the morning. Now, 3 to 4 sessions a week are more than enough. Your strength and conditioning sessions shouldn't last anywhere longer between 45 minutes to an hour if you're doing it properly and it's properly structured. Now, you've got to be able to structure this properly in your own training. So for example, if you know a BJJ session is going to be particularly hard that night, like a competition class, you probably want to be a little bit fresher for that. So you may want to structure your weights regime a load of hours before, like in the morning or on a separate day. On the other hand, say you have a more technical day with BJJ, that's a day where you can probably do a lot more heavy weights and smash yourself a little bit more. I can't give you a complete outline on this. I do work one-to-one with clients to help them structure this. However, if you're unsure, just play it by ear. Okay, do a Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday weights. Train your BJJ like you would. If you feel fatigued in a certain session, then you know just to change it around a little bit and structure it where it works best. You've got to change this week to week as well, because one week it might feel fine, another week it might feel like shit, and you need to structure it a little bit differently and maybe reduce the amount of volume you do in your training. A training program shouldn't be the same the whole way through, like 12 to 6 months, okay? Like, it should be structured and should ever change based upon how you're feeling, how you're recovering. Who knows, your BJJ coach might get you to 25-minute rounds, so you're not gonna fucking lift heavy the next day. You're probably gonna be a bit more fucked and need a recovery day. So use your brain, rest as needed. Now, another aspect of that is please take a fucking day off. A lot of people are like, I don't want to take a day off, and they follow what John Danaher says. He gets people to train 7 days a week. That is absolutely fine. However, if you're just a hobbyist, you're white belt, blue belt, you're just trying to become harder to kill, take a fucking day off. You don't get awards for being Superman. So here's some specific tips that might help you in particular. prioritize technique classes. If you can go in and do a lot more technique in the classes and avoid a lot of hard rolling when you're doing a strength phase and you're focusing on your strength and conditioning, that is a big advantage because you're not going to be as fatigued when you lift weights, and you can put a lot more effort into lifting heavy and focus on technique and build up over time. When you are rolling as well, make sure you roll egoless. Do not roll with an ego, and think about it, your ligaments and tendons are going to be a little bit weaker from lifting weights. So if you're holding that arm bar because you feel you might get out of it, it's got more of a chance of getting hurt because you're a little bit weaker in that area. Think about it, the whole purpose of weights is breaking down the muscle tissue, ligaments, tendons, to get them back stronger. So if you're affecting that recovery by holding on to your submission too long, you're going to get injured, so don't fucking do it. Be egoless when you roll. And I know that's easier said than done. No one wants to fucking tap. But look at the long-term goal of becoming better. On top of that, short-term, that will fucking suck. It will suck, but over the long term, it will make your technique so much better because you'll defend the technique much longer, much before it's on. So you'll be better in the long term. Next tip is when you roll in between 50 to 75% of your strength. That's hard, especially if you have no fucking technique. You have nothing else to rely on but strength. But the goal is to focus on as much technique as you can, because I don't want you to get caught up in not developing the technique. And the technique is the most important part. Yes, we can develop all the strength in the world, but if you don't have the technique to back it up, well, you're getting away with murder with strength. When you fight someone with strength and technique, you're getting fucked. Now, there is a time to focus only on strength when you roll. So once a week, I would advise, yes, most of the time, about 80% of the time, focus on technique when you roll. But what I would like you to do for 1 to 2 rolls at least per week is do focus on sub strength. But in particular, holding people's grips, being really grippy and making sure people can't break your grip, or top pressure and squeezing the life out of people, and focus on transitioning that strength you've built in the gym to the mats, because the gym, as much as you can get as strong as you want, it is not grappling strength, it is not sport specific, and you have to make it sport specific. The only way you can make grappling strength sport specific isn't by doing some wanky exercise that kind of looks like BJJ. You get it sport specific by doing the fucking sport. So there is a time and a place to use strength. However, use it at the right times. Don't be a fucking idiot. Don't be fucking ragging on technique it's incorrect. Use it with the correct technique. Easier said than done, I know. Next step, tip number 3, is avoid dynamic, risky moves like the jumping arm bars or the flying scissor heel hooks and just shit that could potentially get you injured. Being fatigued may potentially throw off your coordination, and therefore you're at more risk for getting injured with that. Think about it, you're doing a lot of strength and conditioning now, you're doing a lot more volume in your training, so therefore doing them risky moves may lead you to getting injured. And if you get injured, then you're doing fucking nothing and you're back at square one and you're going to be a weak little bitch all over again just because you did something stupid. Don't do stupid shit. Don't be a moth. On top of that, because you've been doing strength and conditioning, like I said previously, your tendons and ligaments are going to be a little bit weaker, so you've got to take caution with them, especially in the initial stages of starting strength and conditioning and getting stronger. Tip number 4 is undershoot your training. Last thing you want to do straight off the bat is overtrain. So what you want to do with your training is take 1 to 2 full days rest per week, and make sure you're recovering enough at the start, at least for a month. Take it easy. You'll be like, Ali, I can do much more than this. I can do much more than 4 to 5 days per week. I can do 6, I can do 7 days. Don't fucking do it. Take it slow. Let your body adjust to it, okay? Because what you want is consistency over the long term. You don't want to start straight off the bat, jump out the gate, going 100 miles per hour, and then burn out after a fucking month of training, and then you're fucking, just because you're burnt out. And it won't be because you've lost the desire. It's hard to have motivation when you're burnt out, okay? Trust me. I lived in the back of a gym for 10 years. There was no one really more motivated than me, but after a while, if you're overtraining, you just don't fucking want to do it no more, okay? And why would you? You're fucking tired, you want a break? Take it easy to start with, undershoot it. So I'm gonna take you through a complete workout here. This is an upper body day on my app, the coaching clinic. This is where I coach people one-to-one. If you want access to this, you can message me directly on Instagram and I can give you an idea of how I work with clients, but we're gonna run you through the workout now. Okay, so this is my app here. We're going to day 2, upper body power and strength focus. So as you see, we're doing med ball slams to start with. Go through the video of what we're doing. Now, med ball slams are very important. If you've ever done a snap down, if you've ever done a snap down in wrestling, this is fucking key. This is key. We're gonna use a med ball. I'm gonna talk you through it dead quickly. So we're going for 5 reps here. Any med ball is fine. What you don't wanna do is have one of the med balls that are bouncy. This doesn't bounce. The reason for that is it's not gonna bounce and fucking hit you in the head, okay? I have done that before. You look like a fucking idiot in the gym. So we're going 5 reps here. So what you're gonna do now is all the way in the air with the ball on your toes and slam as hard as you can. Now, this should feel like an explosive movement. So if I was wrestling, I would snap someone down. It should be the same movement as a snap down. 5 reps. Now, you're gonna feel fresh after that, where you feel a little bit of it. You feel your heart rate a little bit higher, but I feel I could do more. But if I did do more, my power would probably decrease. You wanna keep your power very high, as powerful as possible. Now, we're doing 4 sets of that. I'm not doing 4 sets because you don't wanna fucking see me do 4 sets. It would be boring as fuck, but you're doing 4 sets of that. So next exercise is eccentric pull-ups. So this in particular, this is just the downward portion of a pull-up, okay? So you're gonna jump up the top of the bar and down nice and slow. So come on outside. So we're gonna start with no weight to start with, however, because what we wanna be able to do is jump up the top. Down nice and slow for 5 seconds. We're gonna jump back up again to the top. So that's 5 reps. What I would like you to do then after that is repeat that for another 3 sets. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna add weight each set. So you gotta get a dip belt or put a dumbbell between your legs. Easy peasy, you know how to fucking do that. You don't need me to show you, but we can do it very quickly. So got a dumbbell now. We're gonna put this in between our legs. And same thing now with a little bit more weight. Up your toes, jump up. Yeah. And now, 4 in the last set. You're gonna do that for 4 sets, but on the last set, we're gonna try and hold it at the top as long as possible. Let me show you. So what this? So last set is an isometric hold. Hold this as long as you can. This should feel like a holding on to someone's back. That should feel like back control. It should feel fucking hard. Next exercise is banded dumbbell bench press. You don't particularly need a band for this. It helps. We're gonna do it without a band. Let me show you. We're gonna use the 30 kilo dumbbells. I'd normally use the hundreds, but you know, don't want to show off. Gonna talk you through this. All you want to do with this is this start part is really important. All we're gonna do is when I lean back, I'm gonna lift one leg up. You can lift both legs up at the same time. I like one at a time. And then now from here, I'm gonna lift the other one up. Now, I've got them in a neutral grip right now. I'm gonna press up with a neutral grip, turn my dumbbells, and they're slightly at 45 degrees now. And I'm gonna come down nice and slow. I'm not gonna go overly that fast. I'm gonna take about 3 seconds and I'm gonna pause at the bottom. My shoulders are pinned to the bench. I've got my shoulder blades pinched to the back and I press up. Now that's a very, very slow tempo. Because if you're watching this video, you might be new to this. Don't rush. We're gonna aim for 8 reps. We're gonna aim for 3 sets. Yeah. Now when you're feeling, all you can do is drop it or put them on your knees and come forward. The most important aspect of this is make sure you put your fucking dumbbells back, you cunt. Now, that's quite easy. So that would not count as a working set. I've got 3 working sets. That's easy for me. As you can tell, it wasn't very hard at the end. So that would be a warm-up set. And I would only really get started until it starts getting a little bit hard. So I would probably go up to 50s the first set and then try and go a little bit heavier the next 2 sets. So play it by ear. See what works best for you. Rest intervals are key with this. You're talking about a minute and 2 minutes in between. If it's a really heavy set, 3, 4, maybe even 5 minutes if you're doing strength work. So next exercise is seated cable row. This is a very pull focused upper body there. Let's go. So seated cable row is something I love for jiu-jitsu athletes. Think about it, this is the movement you're doing all the time, especially in the gi or even no-gi with underhooks. It's got to be something that's really strong. I actually like, for BJJ athletes, sometimes to put a towel around this and grip hold of a towel. The problem with that, however, is it will be your grip that is a limiting factor. We don't want to focus on our grip just yet. So at the end, you could do that to focus on your grip. Right now, we're going to stack the weight on this. So what reps are we on? So we're doing sets of 10 here, okay? Now, with this, we want to make sure we've got a very slow eccentric, and that's just the part where we're bringing it back to the machine. So, to set up all this, if you've never done this before, grab hold of the machine and leg press yourself back with straight arms. Now from here, I want to stretch forward and I want a nice stretch in my lats. I'm pulling my shoulders and elbows forward as much as possible. I want a nice stretch. And now from here, I'm pulling with the elbows. Don't think of your hands, think of your elbows pulling back. All the way, squeeze at the top as much as possible. And forward again. So on the 10th rep, I want you to squeeze it. Squeeze the 10th rep as much as possible. Again, I want a little bit of an isometric squeeze with any pulling movements. Always a little isometric squeeze at the end. Get that little bit more bang for buck out of the movement. Okay, next is landmine bus driver. This is a hard exercise. Let's go and do it now. So for this particular exercise, you want to get a 20 kilo barbell and you want to shove it into a wall, the side of a wall. Now, luckily for us, we have one here. If you don't have a landmine attachment, which is just something that sticks into the ground, you're going to use this and some plates. So stick a 20k plate top of the barbell. You want to half keep it in place. For the sake of demonstration, I'm sticking a 10 kilo one. I always advise, start with 10 kilo, build yourself up with this, especially if you've not done the movement before. Okay, you're gonna lift it up, and your hands We're gonna be like grabbing a big massive cock. So here, and we're gonna rotate side to side. Okay, so here we go. So this particular movement, what we're aiming for, what are we aiming for? This is why I have an app. You're for 12 reps. So 12 reps each side. So 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3. Make sure you don't slack with this. It is important to do your core. Your core is so important when you're doing jiu-jitsu. Every time you do a sweep, you're using your core. Now another movement I like is hanging leg raises as well. We're gonna do that on Thursday. Put your equipment back. Next exercise, or next part of workout is the conditioning part of workout. So we're going for the assault bike. We're only going for 30 seconds. Now listen, you think 30 seconds, only 3 sets. We're gonna build this up. The reason why we're doing 30 seconds with 90 seconds to probably 2 minutes rest. That's way too much because we're not focused on the lactic acid system. We're not focused on the anaerobic, aerobic system. We're focused on the alactic system. We're focused on pure power and repeats. So we're doing 3 sets of this, but we'll probably build this up over time. Have a little look. So with this, you wanna make sure when you're doing any sort of movement such as this, you have a metric to base it on. So this is an assault bag, and what it has is blue rule in it. What it also has is a watt number, the wattage. And that is a number that tells you how powerful you are working. This one's fucking broke, okay? So if your monitor is broke, what you wanna record is the rotations you use in the 30 seconds interval, okay? You want some way to be able to identify how hard you've worked. Because my goal here will be hit a certain number on the first set as hard as I can, and then I need to repeat that 2 more times, okay? Now, over time, we're gonna build this up to 5, 10, 12 rounds of this. And what I will do over time is decrease the amount of time I'm working for. Technically, I wanna only work for about 20 seconds, not really 30. But for this first week, because we're only doing 3 sets, we're gonna work for 30 seconds of watch. So the intensity of this needs to be 100%. I am not gonna do 3 sets. However, we're gonna go through it as hard as I can. Ready? You want to make sure when you do this, you're exhausted at the end for 1 complete rest. I'll rest for about 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes here. This isn't fitness. This is the power repeats, being able to do power over and over and over again over the space of a match. So I want to recover. We will do sprints, probably tomorrow. However, what you don't want to do in your training program is try and hit everything all at once into 1 day. So in summary, jiu-jitsu and weights and the strength and conditioning takes an understanding of your priorities. And it also takes an aspect of auto-regulation and adjusting this week to week based upon how you're recovering, how you feel, or how many hard rolls you've had. You want to implement the power, the strength, the conditioning, all while improving your technique. If you're able to manage all that, you will get better and you will dominate higher belts. Hopefully this helps. I am going to dive into individual aspects a little bit more, but if you enjoyed the video, make sure you give it a like, you subscribe, and you give me a comment of what you thought of my video. I'll see you again soon.